What up, everybody? I'm Dave Miranda, and this is episode 49 of Just Give Me 5. I hope you guys are doing well, continue to be amazing. We got a really great show lined up for you today, but if you guys caught episode 48, you saw we had my man Little Sean on, and let me tell you, was that 50 Cent story crazy or what? I mean, like crazy, right? Like witnessing the bullet that was shattered in his jaw falling out in front of you, like who would witness that but Sean, right? And I mean, from having lunch with Trump and just, I mean, it's just the guy's lived a life. You know what I'm saying? He really has. And, you know, I can't, you know, I can say so much about Sean. That's my man. He's an icon when it comes out, you know, to Arizona radio and just the scene in general out here. And, you know, we were really happy to have him on the show. And, you know, nothing but love and respect to my man Sean. Make sure you guys watch episode 48 so you can see everything that I'm talking about. All right. But today's guest has been a powerful force in the Arizona music scene for too many years. I mean, this guy dropped 12 albums in 1 year. Most artists don't even drop that in a lifetime. And we're going to talk about that process. We're also going to talk about the legendary Arizona Beats and how that was put together. We're going to talk about his BP Mercenaries show and much more. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present to you Blaze Rock.
Hey, what's good? It's your boy Blaze Rock, and all I'm saying is give me 5. Man, I'm gonna take it way back. I'm gonna make myself feel real old, of course.
There we go.
Way back in probably 1992, man, I credit pretty much all of my interest in being an MC, being a rapper, being an entertainer to a couple of guys that's probably really familiar to Arizona hip hop, you know, aficionados and listeners. But my man Phrase, when I was a freshman in high school, who became Yo Westwood. Of course, those weren't their pseudonyms back then, but I used to kind of follow them around in high school. I had Spanish class with Phrase, and I used to, you know, see him in there writing and going over lines and going back and forth with Yo about the songs and stuff they were doing. Yeah. And I was just captivated, like, yo, this is crazy, you know? Right. And just seeing folks that I knew or folks that were just regular guys be able to sit down and, you know, put down something crazy that just moved the crowd, moved people, or even just listening to them put it together was, you know, was just incredible. Right. So man, I remember I went basically home, got a hold of one of my best friends, Justin Harrington, and I was like, yo, we're gonna start a rap group. Yeah. And you know, I came up with a name and everything, and I said, all right, look, dude, this is what we're gonna do. I ended up writing all his lyrics all of a sudden. He was like, yo, this is weird. Yeah. So, you know, time went by, and after that, you know, I kind of backed off a little bit, got with some of the friends, and we started trying to put little songs together. But I think the final thing that kicked me over to like, yeah, this is something that I want to do, Wu-Tang, Notorious B.I.G. It was one of the first points, probably for me at least, in hip-hop, outside of A Tribe Called Quest, where it felt like you could be a rapper without being a pretty boy, without being, you know, a super gangster or something. You could just be who you are and what you are, and still people would gravitate to it. And from there, I mean, that's all I wanted to get down with. You know, I think everybody in their, you know, in their teens and 20s has that dream that they're gonna be the next biggest everything. And I was one of them in that few years. But then after that, it was just basically rehab. It was the type of thing that I could use for almost everything that was going on in my life. I could chronicle things that, you know, I probably couldn't talk to anybody else about, but I could put them down, you know, in a line, in a song, and everybody's gonna be like, oh, whoa, this is crazy, I can relate. So that's been the biggest draw, even now that I'm old and gray hairs and everything else, is, you know, being able to put that down and knowing that someone else somewhere that I may not even know, you know, is being benefited or being helped by my own words. Well, I was out of my mind, probably. I will say that. I legitimately, I went into, you know, it was a change, kind of a change going in life, and, you know, reacclimating to different things going on in life. And I kind of talked to my wife, and I said, yo, I want to do something crazy. I want to do a bunch of albums. And, you know, originally I just kind of said it to her that way. I didn't really explain, like, I had mapped this out in my head. I was like, I'm going to do 12 albums in a whole year. I'm going to drop an album every month. And so then I just started, you know, I probably started writing November of 2016. I wanted it to be very fluid. I wanted it to be something that I didn't, sit there, do a bunch of songs and just kind of put them out at different intervals. I wanted it to be as fluid and fresh as possible. So every month I was basically putting down a project or putting down an album or working on a second, the one right behind it or something like that, and planning it out largely as I go. One of the biggest confusions, I guess, that happened for me really was I started on one particular project that I wanted to be the first project, which ended up being the 7th project. There were a couple of ideas that I had that kind of worked out differently because of timing and some of the people that I wanted to work with. I had the benefit of going on tour during this process as well, and so we incorporated a full-on album about the tour, for the tour, and everything. And we did that, included that in there. So it was constantly moving and things going on. The craziest thing wasn't getting the beats. I had a ton of producers who were more than gracious in working with me and getting things to me in the time frame that I needed. Because a lot of them I didn't even tell them until I said, hey, I want to work on a project. Let's do something. In a lot of cases, it was producers that we've already worked together, friends and whatever, and they were already kind of like, hey, when we gonna do something again? Right. So then I kind of told them, like, yeah, so I'm doing this thing, and this is what it is. And I'd get shocked. I'd get, you're crazy. Like, are you serious? And I mean, I'm sure there were a couple of the homies who were like, you're not gonna get this done. You're not gonna have this happen, right? And so the good thing is, again, they were all very, very supportive. Lost Perception, my man Mitchell Valdez, Mark Racing was one, Black One was another, and obviously my man Paco Knott. We also I think we even got a couple of beats from a couple of different producers for different projects and things like that. So it wasn't all, one MC, one producer. Although I'm a big fan of that, I still wanted something that was a lot of variety, like I said, a lot of fluidity. And so I was blessed to have a lot of different producers that were willing to say, okay, let's work. We did the Trident album with Run Like and Hyperbeast. Hyperbeast did all the production there, which was kind of a surprise, which worked to my benefit because it meant I didn't have to search. I didn't have to do much else to acquire what I needed. I really wanted to spend all of that time, that 12 months. I wanted every project to be something different. I believe Danger Wolf was sort of I'm coming out of my hole and I'm trying to succeed. And then, the other projects had different themes to them without actually full on being a concept. You could listen to the one album, you could go to another album earlier in the year or later in the year, and it'd be kind of a different vibe. Although, I always make the comment, I know most rappers can agree, you're kind of talking about the same things because you're talking about them from your perspective. And so I always tried to make sure that a lot of the stuff that I was putting together sounded very different or it moved very different, even though a lot of it was from the same sources, same problems or same thoughts or same goals. I think the biggest triumph for me really was, in fact, the 11th project, which was Hammer Wolf, because we incorporated some songs from some of the collaborations we'd done with the Clink Room. It was also an opportunity to work with Paco directly on that project and it not be some of the other stuff that we were doing. Earlier in the year, one of my favorites still, my wife hates the album because of where it's from and the tone and some of the things I say, is All Things Lost, which Lost Perception produced. Probably one of my favorites, my own favorite, which I never answer usually. Most people ask me, well, what's your favorite out of the 12? My favorite is still King of Nothing. I think it embodies all of those months in the month basically that I was born. A lot of aggression. It wasn't as worried about being wrong, right, or doing things a certain way, less formula. Everything was as free flowing as possible. So it was fun, and it was something that I knew nobody around me had done. I knew that I could say, pretty much anywhere. Like, there aren't very many people in the area. There aren't very many people, contemporaries, friends, you name it, that could say, hey, I just dropped 12 albums this year. You know what I'm saying? I ended up actually pushing an album to the following year because I didn't want to make it 13 for 12 because I'm a weirdo. I'm OCD like that, I guess. I wanted it to be 12 for 12. I didn't want it to be 13 for 12 or something weird. But so yeah, it was, I wanted something that, again, it's one of those things that if I decided, I'm done rapping, I don't want to do this anymore, I just want to sit at home and be fat, I could do that and I could still look back and say, oh, I did that, So yeah. All right, so that one's actually pretty funny to me.
Good old days.
That's really old. Like I said, I got gray hairs in here, you know what I'm saying? It's funny because there were a lot of people during that period of time. We'll transform back to 2006, 2008 area. There were a lot of people that I'll say everybody who was a part of Arizona hip hop and Arizona music in general spent time on 602 Streets. I credit 602 Streets with 90% of the opportunities that I came up with, or 90% of the people that I met, that I worked with, that I even call friends at this point, you know? Right. There was a point, and I know a lot of people probably don't remember, but there was a point where 602 Streets went down, and it was just gone for a period. I want to say it was like a month. Yeah. It was a good period of time. Yeah. Creeps was obviously still doing AZ hip hop and Southwest hip hop, but we all basically went to 602 Streets. We jumped off a little bit, and we'd go to this site, that site, but we all basically convened with 602 Streets. So when it went down, you know, I was like, yo, this is crazy. So then there was a period that it came back up, but it was a weird, different configuration than it had been. Denial to Dankster, who ran 602 Streets, right. I consider one of my friends, even to this day, although we haven't talked as much over the last few years, clearly. I considered him a friend even then. He is one of the only people who actually appeared on the Rock and Rascal album. He's someone that I respect for all of the things that he was doing during that period of time. But I think he missed with that website when it came back up. Yeah. And people were frustrated. People were complaining. People were, you know, throwing problems out there. At the time, I was running another website elsewhere called Lyrical Beatdown, and I also was running another one called Urban Authentics, running on the basic same forum software that the original 602 Streets was. So I said, you know what? Everybody hates this. Everybody's complaining. Everybody was, you know, basically splintering. And I said, all right, I'm going to put something together. My original idea was Arizona Beat. It was AZ Beats, because I felt like it was short, it was sweet, and everybody would be able to relate to what it was. Turns out, of course, there was a Beatles cover band that had that domain, and I just said, okay, yeah, it's the weirdest thing in the world.
With the AZ as well?
Yeah, AZ Beats. It was AZ Beats. Wow. So instead of, you know, trying to negotiate to buy that from them or whatever, right. I just said, I was like, let's run with Arizona Beats. So I registered all the iterations of Arizona Beats, threw it up, and I didn't think it was gonna do anything. I thought people, you know, we'd have a couple of people who just needed somewhere to be, would jump on it, and you know, and it would kind of go off on its own. But I would say probably within the second week or so, I was getting people asking me, hey, how can I buy a banner? How can I do this? How can I do that? Or what can I do here? Oh, I'm bringing my homies. Oh, I'm getting these people. I would get messages from people in other states, countries, etc. Like, yo, how do I get on this? What's up with it? I keep hearing it. And I was lost because I'm like, we ain't even did nothing. Like, yeah. It's just a domain and a forum. But it was an absolutely great time. It was a great opportunity, obviously, because I think it brought out a lot of people that are famous. I mean, I'll say right now, one of my favorite MCs, period, right now is Megaran. I met Megaran on Arizona Beats. And so for me, you know, I can't stop thinking of the number of people who have been, you know, relatively successful or just really good MCs or really good producers and et cetera that I met on AZ Beats, or more importantly, that met each other on Arizona Beats. There were so many groups, so many collaborations, so many albums, you know, that were a result of that being there and that community being available. I had the opportunity to meet Shot Money XL as a result of the website, a number of different artists, you know, across the world. I had, you know, different companies, magazines, et cetera, like, hey, how can we advertise or how can we get a hold of people? You know, I still think about a lot of people don't remember or they don't pay attention to, but there was that quick wave where all of a sudden there were a lot of folks from Arizona getting signed or getting pulled into development deals. All of those happened from that website. Yeah. From contact to, you know, for example, I know everybody likes to hate on the guy now, but Young Rod, the people that he found, the people he got connected with, all of those things developed right there from Arizona Beats. So it was a crazy opportunity. I just think it's one of those things that was lightning in a bottle. I do, like I said, I like to make it clear that it was never like a competition or something like that. Right. You know, I had reached out to Denial a few years after it was open, and I just told him, I was like, I don't really care about this. This isn't something I want to do. I'm not gaining something. A lot of the time I would even hide from the fact that I was running it, I was owning it. I was the only person running it. I was the only admin, et cetera. And I would hide from it. I would basically tell people, oh, it's this person. I had a different username created and all that. Yeah. Then eventually everybody kind of figured it out. Like, wait a minute, nah, bro, you're the one doing this. So So it was one of those things where I did remember how many people tried to make it into a negative. And for me, it was never a negative. And I also am glad that, Denial's a stand-up dude and he's mature. And he never at least approached me in a negative light about it. He was, he came on a couple times and there was a little bit where you could tell it was like, this don't feel good. And even then I said, hey, this isn't something that I'm trying to steal from you or something like that. You're more than welcome. Yeah, because I looked at it at that time as, it's the easiest way for our community to grow. I got so tired of hearing everybody say, I'm about to put Arizona on the map, blah, blah, blah. But I felt like there were enough people saying that they could say that to each other, and that there would be other people like me who's just kind of looking from the sideline or something like that, that we'd all benefit. And I just feel like, if nothing else, for those few years that it was running, it was absolutely beneficial to the community, the number of shows and the difference in appearances at shows and the population at shows. And, people really started to feel like they could do a lot of those things themselves rather than waiting for this group or that person and something like that. So it's just a great opportunity that I'm really glad we were able to do. And I'm glad everybody really benefited from it. I can't think of anybody, let me say it different. I can think of negatives that occurred, but I don't think anybody who spent any, significant amount of time involved ever took anything negative from it.
No, and me personally, as an artist, like, I couldn't wait to record a record. Me and Jimmy would be working and throw it on there.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you couldn't wait because you wanted to get the reactions.
Oh yeah, and it was a captive audience, while at the same time you never knew who was really watching or who was really listening or who was around. And so, hell, the first time I got some money from an ad, I was blown away. I was like, are you crazy? Like, for what? And they're like, nah, you guys do this and you guys do that and you guys do that. I was I was fairly young myself even at that time, but it was mind blowing at what you could do. Yeah, and at some point, obviously, social media, the bigger social media sites took it over. You know what I'm saying? They took over they took over the need, where we didn't have somewhere we could congregate. We didn't have somewhere where we could share music or share info or connect and network. That's pretty much when Facebook started really taking off. That's pretty much right when SoundCloud started really taking off. So a lot of the things that I had tried to implement, like the songs on the forums, where you could actually post it and it'll play from different sites, etc. All those things ended up being available in better options with better implementation from these huge sites, obviously, that had a buttload of money. So then people just kind of stopped showing as much interest in it, and it was more of a nostalgia thing, like, hey, we've been here for a while. But again, all things come to an end, and in this case, all good things came to an end, but it still came to a good end.
That's dope, man. Those were the
days.
The whole time I was just thinking, it's taking me back, man. You got to remember also too, man. It's crazy that, and it's great that we're all squad now, but there was at that time when Rocky and Mega Ran battled, and people don't. I tell people this, and they're like, "Get the fuck out!" I'm like, "Yeah, man."
Yeah, it wasn't always crew.
It wasn't always
crew.
It was pretty crazy.
Speaking of Mike Devious, there was the fight with him and Quarter Key. There was the actual fight, legitimately at Mason Jar. As a result of that, there was always confrontations, conflicts. But I think that goes without saying. You can't have anything in which you have people. And you have people that are obviously, because our medium, no matter what we like to say, is ego driven. And as soon as you throw a little more ego in, and you get a couple people on the sideline like me, like Tone, whatever, where it's kind of like, so what you gonna do about that? So what are you gonna do about it, You get that shit egged on, and then things would go up. But the beauty of it is, I can't say that I've seen or talked to anybody from that period that may have had an issue or a problem with someone else or another problem in which that wasn't 100% squashed. Or like the situation, like you said, with Rocky and Mega Ran, they're like they peoples now, and you see how that progression happens, and it's, like I said, it's amazing for me. Yes, sir. So BP Mercenaries is it's a thing that Paco Knott and I we had the opportunity to work with a hat company a few years ago. So we were really, I'm a big fitted hat guy. I have lots and lots of hats. Obviously, Paco's kind of the same way. And so one of the things we came together, we're always talking about hats, and he introduced me to this website called the Clink Room. At the time, you know, largely everywhere it was pretty much you're going to get an MLB hat or an NFL hat or something like that, and that's what you had to work with. Well, this clink room was crazy to me at the time because it was completely custom stuff. It was, you couldn't find it anywhere else. You couldn't go into Lids or something like that and see the same hat or same colors or anything. And so it was mind blowing for me at the time, right? But we were interested and we wanted to be involved. One of the biggest parts of the clink room, which I think is cool and is still awesome to this day, is it's driven entirely by the community. The artists and different creators around the world pretty much are submitting their material, they're creating things, and that's what those hats are, and that is what the clink room really is. So that was crazy to me. Now at the same time I said, you know, I don't draw, I'm not good enough, I don't design, I'm not good enough. Paco would say the same thing. He's like, nah man, whatever I'm gonna draw is gonna be terrible. Yeah. So I thought it'd be a good idea if we kind of submitted something that was more along the lines of what we are good at and what we are talented at, which is music. Right. So we took one of my previous songs called King Kong, and I basically rewrote it entirely, weaving in references to the Clink Room's mascot, Clink Kong. So then we did that. So when we did that, we sent it over to him. We didn't tell him, we didn't ask him. We just basically did it, sent it to him. We said, hey, look, we're big fans. We want to be involved. We're not artists. We're not designers. We're not drawers. So we want to be involved, but we want to do our thing. We want to do what we do. So there's a little bit of a break in time before we heard back from them, and we both were like, all right, well maybe they don't care. Maybe they don't like it. Maybe it sucks. I have weak confidence sometimes when it comes to music, so I'm kind of like, oh man, they probably thought it was whack. They don't want nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying? So shortly thereafter, we did get a message from Casey, and his message was absolutely effusively, amazingly blown away at how dope it was. Oh, nice. I have never probably in my life gotten a compliment at the level of which Casey gave us about that song. I've done hundreds of songs, and I've never gotten that kind of reaction from anybody. So it was crazy. So me and Paco were absolutely just like wilding, like, yo, we did this, yeah. So at the same time, we then thought, you know what? Let's do a few more of these. So we basically went and looked at a couple of designs that they had, a couple of hats that they had available, right. And we did a full project of design, you know, songs basically designed or based on those designs. Nice. We sent it over to them. They were, again, you know, just absolutely blown away by it. Yeah. We were excited because we were like, hey, I just like hats. But so they have been incredible supporters of our music. They have always, you know, wanted to keep us involved in what they're doing. They've always been very gracious about the things that we do. We've always kind of done them. We just do it. And we say, you know what, we want to do it. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you like. Tell us if you don't. And every single time it has been an absolute meeting of the minds. It's been a great experience, you know, altogether. So last year we had the opportunity to actually make our own hat, which is this guy that I'm wearing right now. And to have them design the hat, at least for me, I won't speak for Paco in this case, but to have them design a hat for us based on where we came from and in the circumstances that, you know, that introduced us to them, was probably one of the best feelings I've had, period, in music, in art, etc. Because it was that moment where, and I know every artist that's listening to me can relate, where you're in your studio or in your room or wherever, and you're working hard and you're starting to get that feeling like this is a waste of my time, nobody cares, nobody wants to deal with it, etc. But sometimes all it takes is that one little jab. And for me, that was that jab, for them to continue to want to work with us and just to be as explosive about it as they have been. I mean, we're in all of their commercials on Facebook, on Instagram, on everything. Yeah. It's a creepy moment for me because I hear my voice on a song. I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. Like, so again, we had the opportunity to make the hat. It was a great experience. It was crazy. It was, you know, something I really have trouble actually expressing, you know, to the level that it deserves. To then have just hundreds of people buy it and love it, and, you know, for it to be included in the manner it has. But I don't at the same time want to give, you know, I don't want to seem like we just, you know, like we're just so cool. These guys are, you know, they design a ton of the minor league hats or minor league designs, logos, the word marks, the imagery, everything for a ton of minor league teams over the last decade or so. And so for us to be in a situation where they're designing for us was just, it's nuts. Even now, like, I mean, I've worn this hat twice because I just feel like I don't want to touch it. I don't want to take the sticker off. I don't want to get it dirty. I don't want nothing, but it's a great feeling, and they continue to want to work with us. Obviously, we continue to want to work with them. We've had the opportunity to release, I think, 4 projects at this point with the Clink Room. We got a couple more coming up, and we've kind of expanded out and doing other things that really bring them more attention, which is our real goal with this, with these projects and with this, with the shows and everything. So we're expanding to doing some live events on social media. We're doing additional projects that are kind of out of the norm that we usually do. We've kind of expanded there and just continuing to try to build the brand for Clink Room as well as our own BP Mercenaries. I'll tell you the biggest difficulty for me as an artist, and like I said, as someone who struggles with with mental health issues and depression and the like, sometimes there's those moments where you're in there you're writing, you're working, but you're coming up with ideas and you're by yourself, and you start wondering to yourself, like, what's the point? Am I doing this? Am I just being too cocky? Am I just being egotist and not paying attention to reality? Whatever. But then when you get that call, or you get that text, or you see a message, or you get something from someone, or you just happen to pull up on someone and they say, hey dude, I listen to that song and that song has me going crazy. Or you get a kid and the kid's listening and they're like, yo, I love that song. And you're like, that's me. And they don't go, nah, they go, that's crazy. They go nuts. Yeah. I've been fortunate. I've been blessed, obviously, to have a number of kids myself. Their friends or other people and whatnot, for them to say, yo, I rock that. I rock with that. It's dope. Oh my God, I didn't know that was your dad or whatever. Yeah. Or, people that I meet, there's people I meet and I play video games with, and the next thing I know, they're following me on YouTube or something and listen to the music, and they hit me up like, I didn't know you did this. This is crazy, Yeah. It's one of those things that reminds you that the things you're doing, they're not for a waste. I can remember, and it's something that I try to make sure that I say it almost all the time. I remember, around probably 2015, 2016 or so, I was really struggling with the idea of making music. I was looking at it like, I don't make popular music. I've never made, what would be, what would be termed pop music or popular music. I felt like, I'm getting old. I don't look the part. I don't rock the chains or everything that's going on right now. And so I was kind of, pulling away a little bit and feeling like, I need to leave this alone. But my wife was probably one of the biggest supporters that I've had of my music in my whole life. And to be able to have somebody say to you like, yo, I know you on something, but you do really good stuff. And there are people out here who really like what you do and appreciate what you do. And they take power from what you do, and it helps them as much as it helps you. And so to have somebody just in my corner, like nudging me, in some cases slapping me on the back of the head, like, hey, don't be that guy, get to it, It's one of those reminders. I think of some of the folks that I've had the fortune of being able to work with in a capacity that they don't work with other people. Like Mitchell Valdez invited me into his home. I think we had talked like twice on text or on Facebook or whatever. Invited me to the house, played me some beats, and and he was honest. He said, "Yo, I heard this album, and I was blown away." He was like, "But there was some issues with the beats, so I'm just saying, but you are dope." And we had, we put together probably two of my favorite albums of my entire discography, because he was able to kind of zone into what I was wanting to do and what I was wanting to say. And he kept, again, kind of saying, hey, dude, I'm telling you, you do crazy stuff. But, beyond that, I would say my man J-Love is one of those dudes who's been there with me. We've been in all kinds of iterations of groups and Western Bloc, cross-platform, et cetera. And Jay's always kind of the counterpoint to the circumstances that I'm in that, some of the same concerns or same lack of confidence, so to speak, about the music, but he's always been really good about making me remind myself, this is what you can do if you do it. I've just been surrounded with legitimately people who at least trust me enough, for that vision as far as the music goes. People that I've worked with, like Rock is my guy. Having him and Cisco come to me about his project and say, hey, help us make this dope. It's a feeling you can't describe otherwise. Kind of like the same thing with with Clink Room, being able to see people saying like, yo, I would have never thought of ever doing this, but you guys do it crazy. it's one of those reminders that sometimes you don't have to be popular. Sometimes you don't have to be, you know, super rich or super dope or buff or anything. Sometimes it's just, like you said, special, and your special is what means something to somebody else. And I've had I've had a great time in music in all capacities, in which I've just been surrounded by people who've grown me and who I've helped to grow. I've had so many opportunities. Like, cross-platform was a dream of mine. Being able to say, hey, we was getting down on some rock stuff, you know, to being able to do that. And again, looking at these guys as you know, as friends, as people that I really, really care about. And to know, like, you know, not too long ago, I got in a motorcycle accident, and having those people hit me up and say, yo, I hope you good. We don't want to lose you, bro. We need you to, you know, need you to get back to it. But, you know, finally, one of the things that I think has really kept me connected to the world, in spite of all the things that are going on with COVID, in spite of my own issues mentally and, you know, and experiences and whatnot, I think one of the things that keeps me in there and keeps me grounded and about, you know, what we're doing, is no matter what, somebody's listening, and someone wants to learn, or someone wants to do something different, you know, as a result of some words that I said, and something that may have meant nothing to me as I wrote it, you know, is a difference for someone else who's struggling, or who's, you know, I mean, not even just always struggling. Sometimes it's, you're triumphant, you feeling like you're the king of the world, and you put on the right song and it just amplifies it. And to be able to be a part of that is just an amazing feeling that I don't think I could duplicate in any other form or any other medium. And so, you know, like I said, I feel amazing sometimes about that support. Even in those in those times where your spirit's down, or you're struggling, you know, you kind of look back and you look at these people, you talk to some of these people, and you say, man, you couldn't have it any better way, you know? Of course, you know, I have to give love to my wife, Maisha, you at the house, Lady Blaze in the building, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, obviously that's my number one, and the person that keeps me going and keeps me doing all these projects. Obviously, I have to shout out my man Paco Knott, have to shout out my man Lost Perception, have to shout out my man J Love. You know, that's the unit that we put together all kinds of different stuff, and we've been doing it for 10, 15 years or more. We've had babies and everything else. It's more than just, you know, creativity, or more than just music. It's love, it's family. You know, obviously, shout out to the fam right here, my man Dave. Obviously, it's, you know, it's an amazing moment to be able to be on this show. It's something I thought from the very first show, from the very first time that you mentioned it, you know, I thought it was such a great opportunity and a great option for, you know, people within our city, within our state, everywhere for that matter. It's just a crazy thing, and I'm absolutely appreciative of being here. You know, obviously, shout out to the Clink Room. Shout out to everybody who knows me, knows what we do, everybody who's supporting anybody that's doing something creative. But more importantly, I have to absolutely say, everyone protect your mental peace. You know, it's the only one you have. But more importantly, you know, there's so many things that are going on out here in the world that can change your whole spirit and change your whole life in a moment. But keep yourself, keep aware, and keep trying to do better. Everything changes. Everything can be done differently. Other than that, man, again, it's your boy Blaze Rock signing out. Give me 5.
And there you have it. Man, nothing but love and respect to my brother Blaze. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've known Blaze for so many years, and he's always been a solid individual. You know, he's got a great heart, extremely talented, and he's just such a visionary. And, you know, to have him on the show was definitely a treat, you know what I mean? And so, you know, nothing but love and respect to you, my brother. Wish you nothing but continued success. Make sure you guys are following him on social media. And shout out to my brother Jimmy Nelson on the camera. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and share. All right. And I hope you guys had a wonderful holiday. And, you know, I just wish you guys nothing but the best. And so till next time, stay tuned, stay blessed, stay healthy, and just give me 5, y'all.